as I write you this letter. Days past and days yet to come, and the message of freedom. The message of freedom.
Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon to you, Matt. I came in a little later than yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to do a lot of small talk with you, as we've done in the past when I came in here. And I've been really tight one time getting in here on time. Sometimes it's the nice weather. Sometimes it's a little 3-year-old or almost 3-year-old. My youngest will turn 3 tomorrow. And he had a little hissy fit today. Didn't want to sit on the he woke up dry, if you know what that means. Mm-hmm. And he said, "You got to get on the pot, little boy, and potty and see if you can do something." And he did. So that's I gave him a high five over that.
The potty training days are always the tough ones.
And he's been our toughest. The easiest one was our first. All 3 of our girls were very easy.
Okay.
Us
boys are stubborn.
Yeah, and my oldest son wasn't too bad. I mean, he was done in his mid-2s probably. He was potty trained. But all my girls were potty trained well before 2 years old. Well, one was basically the oldest. She's probably could be mad that I'm going to talk about her here, but she was pretty much potty trained at a year old. Nice. She was potty trained before she was talking full sentences, I would probably suspect. So did you do anything nice with the weather yesterday? It kind of couldn't figure out whether it wanted to rain or not until, and then we got an early one I heard Dave and Rob talking about this morning. So today we're going to start out, this is a big question everybody's been asking. And then I'm going to talk about some people that I know firsthand knowledge of that had the COVID-19. 2 of them are really good friends, and the other is a girlfriend of a really good friend, so who also had it. And you said you knew one fellow that had it, and you think he's still in the hospital, correct?
I believe the last report I heard he was still in the hospital, but is on the road to recovery, doing well.
All right. So what everybody's asking is, how would you do it different if you were the governor? And what would you do? They all phrased a little bit different, but how would you handle the situation as governor is the big question. And then the other question is, how would you prepare West Virginia for it when the next pandemic comes? Because these things do come about. It seems like every 10 or 20 years we have a major one. Of course, the last big one we had was the H1N1 in 2009. And, of course, I think we spoke about that already. That actually... the mortality rates were higher for the younger people. I don't know did we talk about that on a previous show? If we didn't,
I don't remember.
According to the CDC's website, the typical flu, 79%, this is off the CDC's website, and I'm telling you from memory, the typical mortality rates are the highest. 70 to 90% of the deaths are over 65. And then the younger people can fight it normally easier. And in the H1N1, the unique circumstance in that flu pandemic was that younger people, under 65, 70 to 90% of the deaths came from younger people. And they did serology tests, I believe is what they're called, when they basically, after it's all said and done, they tested those that recovered and see which ones had antibodies and things like that. And they found that the older people that lived through it had previous exposure to some type of flu, and the younger people didn't. They didn't have those antibodies because they were younger and they didn't live through. And I'm guessing this is now just me theorizing, and based on the available data, is that there was a major flu pandemic in 1957, and there was another one in 1968, which means those older people had been exposed probably to those, and that's where they built up some antibodies. But so the things I would do different, and I'm going to preface everything I say with, I can't tell you perfectly what I would do different because I don't have access to the same information that the governor's office does or resources. I'm only going to speak to what the research I've done. So, and the biggest thing people need to know is I would be more surgical. In other words, I wouldn't shut the whole state down. And I said this early on, and I can't remember if it was a radio show, literally before we got our first case in West Virginia. I said the most likely place that we would get a case in West Virginia first would be the Eastern Panhandle. And that was because our proximity to D.C. and major metro areas that had already had a lot of cases. Loudoun County is one, and we have a lot of people that commute to Northern Virginia for work, a lot of people that commute to the Rockville area for work, and then a lot of people drive the train right into D.C. for work. So I'd said that back then. That came to fruition, which I'm sure I'm not the only one that said it, but I did say it. But it would be more surgical because I don't think, just like the governor of South Dakota said, the rural areas of West Virginia are less susceptible to a major problem if they're not big commuter areas. So I would be more surgical in the sense that I don't think I would shut all the schools down all at once. I think Berkeley and Jefferson County at that time it was obviously made logical sense to allow them to shut down. And one thing I'll say also, I'm going to do some more research because I want to research the way Sweden has reacted. They haven't really closed their economy, but I haven't done the detailed research to figure out how successful they're going. They're talking. I actually saw some headlines today where they say they might see a surge of an outbreak. So I would be more surgical. That's the just general statement I want to make on that. And without more data, I don't have as much information that's available. The one other thing that I would do different that I think is very important is be more transparent in providing figures. And I'll give you one example. And what's the doctor's name? The lady doctor that's the health officer for the state. Starts with an S, I want to say.
I have it written down on one of my pieces of paper. Hang on.
I'm making, well, I'll go and you can catch that for us. But what she said, she was asked on an interview the other day.
Dr. Slemp, Kathy Slemp.
Dr. Kathy Slemp said in an interview the other day on a statewide program, she was asked the question, how many do we have recovered in the state of West Virginia? How many people have recovered? And she said something to the effect that we do clinical work. We don't have those numbers. We won't provide those numbers. I think that's problematic because of those, 400 some cases now in West Virginia, we need, over a period of 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks, we need to know how many people have recovered to see how successful we're being. Now, she goes on to say and actually I saw this on a Facebook post that our majority leader, Amy Summers, had on Facebook, and she was asking the question, and they won't give them the numbers. But yet I know, because Bill Kearns has said it on this show, that they're following up with the people that have it and are sent home, correct? Isn't that what you've heard? My understanding is the health departments are following these people. Not following it literally, but keeping in touch with them, see if their symptoms are getting worse, whatever. So the data should be available to who is recovered. And I think that would be an important metric to be putting out on their website as an example. Not just cases, positive cases, how many people are tested, how many deaths. I think that fourth column really should be how many recoveries we've had in the state of West Virginia. As a matter of fact, if anybody is listening to this that has the ear of the governor, they should be getting that data. Because it is available, because if every other county is doing what Berkeley County is doing, and Bill Kearns and those guys say they're doing, which is following up and keeping track of these folks that test positive, then that data should be available. You got something?
I'm just looking at numbers as of, this was an article from 1031 this morning, so don't know anything that's been maybe added during the course of the day today. The only thing that it gives us is that 12,545 residents had been tested. 462 had come back positive. 12,083 came back negative. And now 42 of the state's 55 counties have at least one confirmed case.
Yeah, so that's data that I think should be made available, should be compiled. If they're not compiling it, they should compile it. It's a simple... It wouldn't be that difficult to do. And the other thing is, how would I prepare West Virginia for the next pandemic? Well, I've discussed this a little bit already. I mean, one of the things we have to do is have availability of healthcare services. And right now we have restrictions on availability of healthcare services in the state of West Virginia. It's called Certificate of Need. And we talked about articles already about why that's important. And in the case of many of the states that have had major outbreaks, like New York, they've actually suspended their CON for hospital beds, as an example, so they could ramp up quickly. So we need to do that in West Virginia, totally abolish CON, so we have the availability of healthcare services when we have another crisis like this. Now, I want to talk a little bit real quick about the stories that I'm personally aware of. 2 of the 3 people that I'm going to talk about, I know on a first name basis, and I've talked to both of them literally in the last 24 hours. So one fella is from Harrison County. Now, one of these is from in-state. The 2 other ones are from out of state, but live in the Northern Virginia area. So fella from Harrison County, who I've known for probably about 8 years. And I'll give you the demographics of them, their ages. He's about 58 years old. About a week and a half ago, he had all the symptoms, and I think it was a Sunday, he went into the hospital. And they tested him, came back positive. He was admitted. I think he spent 4 days in the hospital. Now, in his case, what they did, and I talked to him about this, when I talked to him on the phone the first time, I found out that he had, you want to grab that? And I'll keep talking. I don't know what it is. It gets. I hear the phone ring, and I'm like wondering. But what he did, or what they did, what they prescribed to him, because when I first talked to him, he said, "Oh, they gave me that malarial drug." I'm like, "You mean the hydroxychloroquine?" And he goes, "Yes, that one." They gave him that, and they gave him the Z-Pak, which is the combination of zinc and erythromycin. And he said within 24 to 48 hours, he was feeling much better. And he was released from the hospital that Thursday. So he got through it pretty quickly, but he was hospitalized for less than a week. My other friend, who I work with, he's a former Air Force pilot, fighter pilot, and spoke with him, and he said, and this was just this morning, now he put a post out on Facebook, and matter of fact, I'll just kind of read you his post. That might be a better thing to do. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up because I don't want to misspeak. Oh. So he says, the Veterans Administration called today and my test came back positive for COVID-19. My slight symptoms were a headache for 2 or 3 days, an achy back one morning, and maybe a dry cough for a couple of days. Those symptoms will be 2 weeks ago tomorrow. This is just recently. It's also allergy season. No fever ever. Can smell and taste fine. I'm probably what you would call asymptomatic. And then he goes and makes a little bit of further statement on something else. So this is a fellow that would probably normally would fall into that category, and I'll explain why here in a minute. Would normally fall in that category who would have never been tested. But the reason he was tested was because his girlfriend came down with it and was tested, and she actually went to the hospital. Ironically, or I don't know if it's a coincidence, guess what she was treated with? Same thing, hydroxychloroquine with a Z-Pak. And she spent 3 days in the hospital and was released. So she had a worse reaction to the COVID-19 than he did, but she recovered nonetheless with this treatment. And I find it very interesting, to say the least, that the media is downplaying this treatment, because I now know 2 people that have used it successfully and were hospitalized for a brief period of time. So with that being said, we're at about the quarter after mark, and if you want to take a break, it's a good time to do it.
Summertime is finally here. That old ballpark man is back.
Jim Justice was Hillary Clinton's running mate, and Woody Thrasher backed Justice's tax hike. Mike Folk led the fight against it and won. Mike Folk, taxpayer hero, for governor, because West Virginia needs a conservative champion. Mike Folk, putting taxpayers first.
I'm Mike Folk. Jim ran as a Democrat, and Woody was one less than a year ago. Neither supported Donald Trump. I did. I'm Michael Folk, a pro-Trump Republican running for governor because it's time for a conservative change.
Howdy, cowpokes. Do your business cards look like they were designed by a coat roper? Well, this cowboy knows the advantage of dealing with folks the old-fashioned way. When you order printed material on the internet, you're stuck with what you get. But when you need printed material to look just right, you want to deal with folks you know. And that's what you'll find at Panhandle Printing and Design. Local folks that have been delivering results for years. They can help with everything from design to production of stationery envelopes, business cards, invitations, vinyl signs, banners, vehicle wraps, and a lot more. They can answer all your printing questions, and you can call them on the phone or hop on your horse and go see them, because they're your one-stop printing shop where they have something for everyone. Panhandle Printing and Design at 124 North Maple Avenue in Martinsburg. Call 304-267-7400. You can even find them online, too, if you want to. If you need printed materials, don't deal with some city slicker you'll never meet. Trust the folks at Panhandle Printing and Design.
Bold and savory.
Why are you always talking about me?
Actually, Rod Hawker Dog Hawker, I was talking about the soup sale at Johnny's.
Sweet! Now with new varieties and your reliable all-time favorites, it's soup sale time at Gianni's.
Hearty and flavorful, choose from new varieties like Pilgrim's Corn Chowder, stuffed green pepper soup, lumberjack vegetable, and Phillips cream of crab.
And don't forget rip-roaring crab and corn, steak and ale chowder, French onion, Maryland crab, and chicken noodle.
The perfect comfort food. Johnny's soups are still quick, easy, goof-proof, and delicious. Just add water or milk, cook, and serve.
And of course, you'll find all the soup bowls, soups, ladles, and storage containers you'll ever need, and soups on sale at Gianni's. Round 11 South and J. River, Johnny's Express, Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg.
Serving local clients since 1997. With a reputation. Are you looking for a full-service web design company right here in the Eastern Panhandle? Then look no further than Pro Design LLC, specializing in web design and development, web hosting, and application development. Pro Design is a locally owned company serving local clients since 1997 with a reputation of quality, creativity, and personal touch. Let Pro Design build or redesign your dream website. Find them online at professionaldesign.com or phone 304-676-9940.
Rolling, 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 rolling,
Rawhide. Oh gosh, you all got some good. I was listening to you and you and Crawford a little while ago, and the world as we know it.
Oh, yeah, it's the end of the world as we know it. I have that one queued up next for you if you'd like it. So.
I just got a chuckle out of that because I literally on my drive the other day coming across the state that somebody played on one of the, I think it was on Route 50 coming from Parkersburg to Clarksburg before I headed home, and that song came on. It just anyway, it was ironic and that you put it on this afternoon on your show. So
I do believe we have a caller on the line.
Sure.
All right. This is David, I understand. David, welcome in.
Yes, hi. I'm from Lewisburg, West Virginia.
Oh, how you doing, David?
Good, good. Mike, I have a question for you. I've been struggling for 3 years. I'm trying to start a startup company that deals with renewable energy here in the state of West Virginia. I've been to every bank. It's always the same red tape. I bring my portfolio with me. I show them everything that I'm trying to do here in the state. And the banks make it so hard for entrepreneurs here in the state to get the funding that we desperately need.
Okay. What is your background? Do you currently work?
At the moment, I'm a truck driver.
Okay.
But I'm not working at the moment right now. I'm just staying home, and I'm going to let this coronavirus kind of blow off a little bit, and then I'm going to hit the road again. But I have a friend in Florida who's an engineer, and we're working on these new railroad tracks that can generate electricity for the railroad industry. So people like CSX, Norfolk Southern would be interested in something like this. I spoke to someone already about getting this project launched here in West Virginia, but the same thing is like I need more investors. I need people in the community to back me up, and it's just so hard around this area.
Do you have
There's programs like Hive. I don't know if you heard about it. they will help you, but they only give you like a limited money, like $1,000. That's not going to even, help me at all. I mean,
Well, a quick question: do you have patents on this technology?
I do have a provisional patent. My attorney's from Charleston. I don't want to mention his name right now, but obviously we're in the air. But yes, everything is protected. I do have a prototype. I do have videos. I have a professional presentation, and trying to launch something like this in the state, I think is crucial. I mean, right now I'm talking to the governor from Texas. I'm trying to follow the money right now, but dealing with people in the higher up industry, it's very difficult. I did speak to Jim Justice. His secretary contacted me. But it's all red tape. At the end, they point you to certain people, and then you don't hear from them ever again. So my question to you is, what program can we do here to help create jobs here in the state? Because obviously this system here, it's not working.
Well, I mean, I've talked a little bit about that, especially for manufacturing. But I need more information on your what you've done so far. Another quick question: have you, since this is obviously something that the railroad industry might be interested in, have you talked to anybody in that industry?
I have. We're ready. We're getting ready to set up a meeting, but they haven't heard anything yet from me. I'm speaking to the person who's in charge of the state of West Virginia and the railroad industry, who does all the contracts for CSX. So I'm going through a person right now that can set up the meeting for them to see, where we can go from there.
Well, the reason I ask that is because if it's keyed towards one industry, which it appears your technology is for the railroads, your biggest supporter might be the railroads themselves and not a bank. In other words, sort of like if you remember, I don't know if you realize this, but like the operating system for Microsoft was done just literally through rights. And that's how Bill Gates became a multi-billionaire. And I'm sure he had some funding along the way too, of course, but he actually, I think, originally got it, and I'm not a big Bill Gates fan by any stretch of the imagination, with his background supporting Common Core and things like that, but I know I did watch this movie that was a biography of how Microsoft took off, and he got IBM to basically give him so many bucks for every computer that they put his system in. That's how he made a fortune. And that might be a way that you can finance your thing through the railroads. And I'm not going to mention names on the air here, but I have a very good friend whose husband was a senior VP for CSX. So if you contact me off air, I can talk to you more in depth of that.
Okay. Is there any way, Mike, if you don't mind, please, you can put me on hold and I can give you some of my information. That way I can set up a presentation.
I tell you what, the best thing to do is you give me a call after the show today, after 4. My number's 304-279-6797, and I'd be more than happy to take all your information. Or you can also email me, and we'll do both if you want. Email me at mcfolk34@gmail.com, and I'd like to see what your whole, without spending the whole show asking you about what your technology is. I'd like to hear more, but we can do that better with a one-on-one conversation than covering it all over air. But the biggest thing is getting you in front of the right people, finance people that are.
If you don't mind, Mike, I did speak to the University of Marshall University. They do have a program up there. They're willing to give me a few $1,000s to help me with my engineer drawings, which it does help, But I'm also past that stage. Everything I have is professional. I mean, I want to show you. I've been working on this for several years now. I'm actually ready to manufacture these railroad tracks. There's a company from Atlanta, Georgia, that specializes in hydraulics. They did all the testing, and it took them several months to go through everything. And they actually gave us the green light and said, yeah, they can actually see this thing working. The thing is getting the funding from the states to go ahead and start producing our products. That way CSX can definitely could store this power that we're creating in the train tracks, and it can be something that I can see as another source of creating energy.
Well, I'm not disputing anything you say. I will just say this: the government in general, whatever the government tells you, I think the private sector can do it better, and it's just a matter of getting you in front of the right people with your idea, and and I'm willing to take a look at your ideas so I know so I can put you in the right direction.
Okay, Mike, I appreciate it very much, and I'll be contacting you later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Well, it wasn't the David we thought it was, and that's good. That means somebody's listening. That's in Lewisburg, which is Greenbrier County.
Right.
I was just spent there the night there Saturday night. Had 8 hours of sleep, and got up and got back on the road. And I appreciate your call, David. You're looking at your screen over there. You got some more?
Not at this point, question-wise, no.
Okay.
But I'll keep an eye on it. And again, folks can send a question through the YouTube page, and that is Michael Folk for West Virginia Governor.
Now I've got some questions here. I'll go and address a few more, and then we'll take another break. Some of these are recurring themes because I guess people are first-time callers or first-time watchers and maybe haven't heard what my stance is. Tim asked. Basically says, I'm new to learning about your platform. I'm very intrigued by what I see so far. Some issues that I would like to hear more about is your support and stance on the coal industry. And this is interesting because driving through southern West Virginia, I had these conversations with several people. And I don't know if you know this, Matt, but West Virginia has the best met coal in the world. You know what met coal is?
I do not know the difference.
Met coal is what's used to make steel.
Okay.
I mean, it's literally 99. Larry, a friend of mine from a place called, I think it's Oma, West Virginia, literally in the heart of coal country, and I drove by like literally 2 shut down mines while I went by. He told me, and he's a former coal miner, he's retired. He pointed literally to this mountain ridge, that mountain ridge, and he says, there's this much coal in that one, there's this much coal, and they haven't even been touched yet. And it's met coal, best met coal in the world. And yet we ship it overseas, a lot of it, instead of using it here. And so in general for the coal industry and for the gas industry, I'd like to do more value-added stuff to try to, number one, that would provide a lot of high-paying jobs in the state of West Virginia, and also provide a local use, which would help the price of coal too, the domestic price of coal. Second question he had is asking me about my support of the Second Amendment. I think we've went over that pretty extensively over the last several days. I would suggest for Tim, if you haven't checked out the WVCDL, West Virginia Citizens Defense League, I would suggest you doing that. I've got 100% pro Second Amendment voting record. I actually presented constitutional carry on the floor of the West Virginia House of Delegates, presented it and defended it. I've come out strong against supposed red flag gun laws in any form, because I believe they violate the Fourth Amendment along with other amendments in the Bill of Rights. And so that's the stance on. Now my phone's going off. So that's where I stand. Now he also asked about term limits for senators and congressmen. I do support that. There's a lot of pushback thinking that elections that's what elections are for, and to some degree I agree. However, some of these people have been senators and congressmen for decades upon decades upon decades, and I believe it would be a good idea to get new blood in there. And with that, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour. Yep. Go ahead and take a break, and when you come back, we'll maybe address a few more questions.
Here's your song.
An earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane. Listen to yourself. Churn world serves its own needs. Dummy serve your own needs. Beat it up an ox, speak grunt, no strength. The ladder starts to clatter with fear. Fight down, high wire in a fire. Representing 7 games in the government for hire in a combat site. Left to us are coming in a hurry with the furies.
West Virginia has enough problems without subsidizing refugees from terrorist nations and gang-infested countries. But that's what Governor Jim Justice endorsed. And Woody Thrasher supports Justice's plan. Makes sense. Both supported Hillary Clinton for president. Only one governor candidate says no to open borders and bringing refugees to West Virginia. Mike Folk. Mike Folk for governor. Defending our conservative values. Taking care of our own. Mike Folk for governor. Fighting for us.
For level of care that I got at WVU Medicine was top-notch.
If you're not progressing in healthcare, you're falling behind.
Is really an integration, looking at a clinical care network, looking at the good people who can help push the envelope and raise the bar for delivering quality healthcare product.
To have my life back is absolutely a blessing. I am beyond thankful for WVU Medicine. I absolutely 100% have my life back.
Orsini's, not just an appliance store anymore. They're your one-stop resource for all home needs, whether it's custom kitchen design, countertops, or cabinets, or check out their new sleep studio with Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns & Foster. For all of your outdoor living needs, Orsini's has Gladiator Garage Works, Traeger grills, barbecue accessories, barbecue rubs and sauces, and every flavor wood pellets. Visit their brand new 8,200 square foot showroom at 360 Hack Wilson Way, 304-267-7251, Orsinis.com.
When will I be able to retire? How do I make the most of the money I have? How do I leave a lasting legacy to my loved ones? I'm Philip McCoy, financial advisor with the Mirius Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. Call us today at 304-263-4343 to help you make the most of your financial future. Our office is located at 1270 Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC.
In whatever you do, it's good to go the extra mile. But when we go to Antwerp, Belgium to buy a diamond for you, we go the extra 7,982 miles, the distance from here to Antwerp. And when you see your new diamond, the sparkle in your eyes will tell us it was worth it to go the distance. Hi, I'm Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. Dave and I are leaving soon on a diamond buying trip. And here's what going the extra 7,982 miles means for you. A more beautiful diamond than you thought possible for your money. Antwerp is the diamond capital of the world. We work directly with the men and women who buy and cut the diamonds. We personally inspect thousands of diamonds to pick only the best out of each parcel. And believe me, we reject hundreds of diamonds for each one we buy. Would you like to own a diamond that will blow by other diamonds in a flash? We're ready to go the extra 7,982 miles for you. See us at Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 south of 51 in Inwood.
So I'm trying to figure out that song. Do the way.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Give It Away.
Give it away, man. That's right. I'm not sure the...
Here it is. Up. Here it comes. All right, there you go.
You know, I forgot to mention this yesterday. I think it was yesterday. That on Monday, while we were on the show, literally right at the end of the show, I went over 13,500 likes on the Michael Folk for West Virginia Governor page, which is a pretty significant feat, considering how important social media has become in campaigns now.
I have a question for you. Let me ask the challenge that a primary presents in this situation where you have a sitting governor who will be running, you're running against. You have another competitor in there as well in
actually
Woody.
Several competitors, but another significant because he spent
Woody Thrasher, right.
He's got a lot of money.
But when you look at the voter turnout in these types of primary elections, it tends to be relatively low. So what's the challenge of being able to get the right people fired up about Mike Folk for governor to get out and cast that vote?
Well, I think I have very passionate supporters, number one, so they're more motivated to get out and vote.
Right.
We do have a wild card this primary. Any other primary, I would agree with you, but the fact that we're doing everybody's getting an absentee ballot application and can send it in via the mail makes it a little bit simpler, and it also extends the election season, but also extends it to where people can vote earlier. Matter of fact, some people have already cast their votes because before they changed the primary date from May 12th to June 9th, some of those ballots had already hit the mailboxes and people had already sent them back. I mean, I know of several people that have already sent them back. So, But I have to be very wise with my spending of my money. I can just tell you from campaign finance reports, both these guys are going to spend, well, Woody's probably already spent in excess of $2 million or close to it. He spent, as of the end of December report, he had spent over $1.5 million of his own money and almost $2 million overall. So he's already spent in excess of that. Justice has done similar. I mean, he's already spent more than I will spend in this whole primary. So, but we're using social media as a platform, and particularly now that I can't do my town halls. I'd been doing town halls for months, and I started to really ramp up the number of town halls that I was doing. For instance, 2 weekends ago, I would have been doing 3 town halls in 2 days. One would have been in Marlinton in Pocahontas County, and then the next day I had 2 scheduled, and also I was going to go to the GOP dinner in Lewisburg, and I had one scheduled down in Union, West Virginia at their library. Well, they closed the library, so you can't have it. And then I had one scheduled up in Lewisburg, and of course, when everything shut down, it eliminated those. So but some of those people that were setting those town halls up were some of the people that I was taking signs to last weekend to get them out and so they can get my name out there by putting signs up. So there's alternative ways, and we're still going to do our mailers as much as we can, and we're going to do some. Of course, we push everything back. Marty Gerhardt was on a local show, and Marty Gerhardt's a former colleague of mine. And he was on a show in the other end of the state called Tom Roten Show over in Huntington. It's probably the second biggest show in the state, statewide. But it's not a statewide show. It's more regional in southwestern and western West Virginia. And also he covers Kentucky. And, for instance, he has Rand Paul and Thomas Massey on a lot. And he also has the one congressman from, I think it's Bill Johnson from Ohio, is on his show a lot. And he said, it's a fluid thing, is what Marty said. But every time when they changed the dates, he was getting ready to put mailers out. But now you got to wait 2 or 3 weeks because you expect the people are going to, you need to get the information to them later. So, we have focused almost extensively right now on social media because that's the platform that we think we can get the most bang for our buck. And we've been very successful at it. Just to put it in perspective, the Republican nominee for governor in 2016 had a total of 10,500 likes during the whole campaign. So I'm at 13, and presently I'm very close to 14,000. So if you're out there listening and you like what you hear, or even remotely like what you hear, please go like my page, Michael Folk for West Virginia Governor. We're approaching very quickly. We might even hit it this afternoon or this evening, 14,000 likes. So we're moving pretty fast, and the governor's got, you talking about an incumbent governor, he gets a lot of what they call earned media. So his daily press briefings, of course, I think sometimes those do him more harm than good based on the way he sounded that one Saturday. And this was the Saturday that he did not announce the shutdown, but he alluded to, and then I think Monday he finally did announce it. It was the weekend where he literally put out a press release early in the day saying he was going to have a briefing, and I really think he had planned on announcing the stay-at-home shelter-in-place order, and just did not do it because he got cold feet or whatever. That's my belief, and from some of my sources around the Capitol, that's what they believe also. So, does that answer your question?
It does.
We're working hard, though, and if you do want to support my campaign, you can also, the biggest way you can help, short of telling your friends, is help me get the message out by donating what you can afford. And I know it's difficult in these tough times to donate, but I still have people donating 10. I've got one guy that one guy that donates $60 a month, and he's on fixed income. To my campaign, it's Folk at the Folk number 4wv.com, and there's a donate button in there you can hit. And I got another guy donating $5 a month, and then I've had the occasional nice big donation from big donors. But I don't have. I have one $2,800 donation, which is the maximum allowed, in a primary in my whole campaign that I'm aware of right now. And I got a couple people close, but I got one $2,800 donation, which is the most allowed by state law, and that's actually from a family member of mine. So my campaign's being supported by a lot of small dollar donors, which takes, if the other people can get, $50, $2,800 donations or 40 or 30, I know a lot of them have. Even Stephen Smith, who's the king of small dollar donations, his first campaign finance report had 60-some max out donations that I counted. So I haven't gotten those because the people that support me are grassroots. The ones I'm getting are the $10, the $20, the $25, and I think that's because the most large dollar donors on the other side of the ledger, the people that are supporting Woody Thrasher, the people that are supporting Jim Justice, are doing it because they want influence. My people aren't doing it because they want influence. They just want they want the everyday person to be treated fairly by their government. And right now, I think a lot of them don't feel they are being. I mean, the perfect example is the definition of, I don't want to make this political, but quite frankly, some of it is. Shutting down the economy and the government declaring who is essential and who is not essential is a very dangerous proposition. Because from a liberty perspective, from a constitutional perspective, these people are being denied the right to provide for their families. And who is the king that gets to decide that? I think that's very problematic when you think about it in depth. Now, people say, well, we got to save lives. Well, yes, we do. And I think it's, as Governor Noem said up in South Dakota, it's everybody's personal responsibility to do the right thing and to take care of your neighbors, your elderly neighbors, which we are. Yes, there are cases where people are under 65 are dying from this COVID virus. However, the predominance of the deaths are coming from older people. And those are the people that need to be protected for sure. Mm-hmm. And the younger people need to be protected that have compromised immune systems. In other words, somebody that's went through chemo and radiation and things like that and cancer, and there's, say, a 45-year-old, 50-year-old woman that's had breast cancer, and I have a lot of personal experience with that with my mom. She fought it for 13 years. She had to watch who she was around. If somebody was sick, she, way before the COVID-19, you didn't go, you stayed at home. If my mom was having an event and somebody was sick, please stay at home. That was a personal responsibility from a family member not to go and get their, in this case, my mom, and it could have been their, and she had tons of grandkids and she had tons of great-grandchildren. And if one of those grandchildren or great-grandchildren or one of her son-in-laws or sister-in-law, or son-in-laws or daughter-in-laws, I get it right, or a sister-in-law, and if it was, somebody that was coming over for a Thanksgiving dinner or something, was sick, they knew to stay away because you didn't want to compromise somebody who already had a compromised immune system. So we can do a lot of things, and we can do it from a personal responsibility perspective instead of a government-mandated perspective. There are a lot of people right now, and there are a lot of unintended consequences when you shut down an economy where people that are living paycheck to paycheck or just starting to get ahead in life, and then all of a sudden it shuts down. I mean, I'm thinking about, and I'm an airline pilot, so probably maybe one industry has been more affected than ours, but I think about all the people, and I know one person I can think of right off the top of my head. I'll say his name. His name is Todd. He's an Air Guard. He was a pilot over here at the Air Guard, and I don't know if he retired from that when he took his job where I work, but he's very junior on the list. When that money runs out at the end of September from this care package money where they're going to basically guarantee, and in the case of the airline industry, they got a big chunk of money to basically, but they have to not lay anybody off until the end of September. Well, my airline actually said we will be looking at laying off people after September if things don't change. So I feel for the people, and I'm not junior. It'll take them several years to get to me, but I do have experience being laid off for 4 years as an airline pilot. It's very problematic. I mean, but I prepared for it as much as I could. And at the time, I had 4 young children at home. I'm thinking now. I had 3 young children at home. During my layoff, we had our 4th, and now we have 5. And you know, we did a lot of things that people today are now thinking about doing. I get back to the Kent Carper, the president of the county commission in Kanawha County. Some of these people are so far removed from what the average person is thinking, which the average person is thinking that has a family and they got a backyard, they got enough room to grow a garden. They're starting to think about putting a garden in for the first time maybe in years, and rightfully so. But for somebody to give, like in the case of Carper, belittle somebody because they wanted to buy some tomato plants at a nursery, is just shows you how out of touch some elected officials are. And so with that, I've rambled on, and we've got about 14 minutes to go. If you want to take another break, we'll come back and try to finish this thing up.
West Virginia has enough problems without subsidizing refugees from terrorist nations and gang-infested countries. But that's what Governor Jim Justice endorsed. And Woody Thrasher supports Justice's plan. Makes sense. Both supported Hillary Clinton for president. Only one governor candidate says no to open borders and bringing refugees to West Virginia. Mike Folk. Mike Folk for governor. Defending our conservative values. Taking care of our own. Mike Folk for governor. Fighting for us.
Prepare for what's next, or to plan ahead. We're here. Brown Funeral Home, a legacy of service since 1880.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above-market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
West Virginia
with 4
has enough problems without subsidizing refugees from terrorist nations and gang-infested countries. But that's what Governor Jim Justice endorsed. And Woody Thrasher supports Justice's plan. Makes sense. Both supported Hillary Clinton for president. Only one governor candidate says no to open borders and bringing refugees to West Virginia. Mike Folk. Mike Folk for governor. Defending our conservative values. Taking care of our own. Mike Folk for governor. Fighting for us.
Almost heaven.
Oh, you can let this play for a while.
West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads.
There you go.
And I tell you what, and you know, I've traveled a lot in my life, especially over in Europe, and really all over the country. And I've never met or seen a place better, and more importantly, since February, traveling the state, there's not a population that's more genuine than you will find in the state of West Virginia. The people, one example is Ripley, West Virginia, which has the biggest small town July 4th celebration in the country. I think President Bush actually went there for one July 4th. I think it was a year after 9/11. And we actually went to that July 4th parade. Mm-hmm. And it was like going to a Martinsburg parade, Berkeley County parade in the 1970s. Because you could walk the parade route, which you're not allowed to do anymore in these parades in Berkeley County typically. And I didn't walk because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know we could walk it, because otherwise I probably would have walked it. You could throw candy from your vehicles to the kids. And it was just incredible. And the patriotism was just incredible too in Ripley. And it was a small town, not a little bit smaller than Martinsburg, probably. But the houses were small. They weren't fancy, but they were well-kept yards, clean, and it was amazing. And then anyway, that song reminded me of that. All these people that I've met during this whole campaign. It's been wonderful. And I hear you got a caller.
We do. Let's go to the phone lines right now and welcome in Charles. Charles, you're on with Mike.
Hey, Mike, this is Charles, candidate for the 62nd.
Okay, I figured that as soon as I heard your voice.
Hey, got a question for you. Kind of deals with this pandemic a little bit, in a sense, in the sense of how it's probably going to blow the budget up for the state. And I don't know, you may have talked about it, maybe I missed it, I'm not sure, but where will we be able to make cuts or save money, clean up agencies, departments, and what have you, to help address the hole in the budget that we're going to have?
Well, the March numbers came out last week. I haven't looked in great detail, but we were actually we did fine in March, but I don't think the major effects are going to be felt until this month. Now, the one thing that the March numbers that I looked at didn't have, which I'm kind of curious, is the road fund numbers, which are derived from, gas taxes, DMV fees, things like that. And I figured because a lot of people are not driving as much, that those numbers might actually be down. And if that's the case, that's going to affect possibly payments to the road bond and definitely funding for just continuing maintenance on the roads. Where can cuts be made? The biggest way they're going to get through it, that I've been told, and they're going to have a special session sometime, is to pull money out of the rainy day fund. But you have to watch that, because you can only to keep your bond rating up. The requirement is for the rating agencies to try to keep 15% of your general revenue budget in a rainy day fund. So you have to watch. You can't take too much down. And that was one of the problems with the original budget proposal and tax increase proposal in 2017. His increased spending would have put our general revenue budget, that raise in spending would have made us fall below the 15% threshold, even though they were doing the higher revenues, because our rainy day fund had been tapped into for several years to make up differences. But one of the places they can get money from in the short term is these reappropriated dollars. There's like three, the last numbers I saw, and this was on the budget numbers I talked about the other day, Matt, was $333 million. Those are a couple-year-old figures. There may be more than that now. The other thing that's going to be a problem in the budget is, of course, the fund that does unemployment. That's going to really blow a hole in that pretty quickly. And, you have to go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb. But I can tell you there's a lot of places in the budget that there are dollars to be found, if nothing else, reappropriated dollars. And one of the things I'm going to talk about probably tomorrow, because we're running out of time today, is something that's going on that Brian, a supporter of mine in the Northern Panhandle, has talked about, and it's in regards to severance taxes and royalties paid to property owners. And we think there's something going on there that's kind of shortchanging the property owners from the royalty payments, which in turn would shortchange also the state for severance taxes, In other words, severance taxes and royalties are supposed to be paid on the price that the company receives from the natural gas. And he believes that they're being paid more. When I say they, I'm talking about the gas companies are being paid more than they're telling the royalty owners and the tax office. So we're going to discuss that a little further in depth, because that would affect both. I mean, basically what it does is means the dollars are being taken out of the state from those sale of gas and oil, instead of some of the proper portion, according to law and the royalty contracts, that these people should be paid. It's 5%, like in the case of severance tax, it's 5% of the price that they're receiving. So what he has told me, and I have to do a little research on it, is that these people are, when I say these people, I'm talking about the gas companies. They have contracted oil, for instance, at like $50 a barrel, but yet they're trying to use the cash price of oil, not what they're actually receiving. And of course, we both know that oil's been trading between $20 and $25 the last 2 or 3 weeks. So that's literally half of what the royalty owner should be getting, and half of what the state should be getting in severance taxes.
Gotcha. I'll try to tune into that when you discuss that, I think.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me right now, but because otherwise it's probably going to take a 10 or 15-minute discussion. As a matter of fact, I might even have see if I can get Brian to call in. He's actually a farmer, a dairy farmer. He's one of 2 dairy farmers left in Brooke County, West Virginia. So, well, I appreciate your call, Charles. I hope I answered a little bit without going through a detailed spreadsheet. I can't tell you every place right off the top of my head. Well, I can tell you one place. The Senate has 5 years worth of money in their budget, right, in the reappropriated dollars that they don't need. And that's about $25 million.
Also, I think isn't there something where accounts could be swept or something?
Well, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to sweeping reappropriated dollars. That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Okay.
There's over $250 million right now, maybe even upwards of $400 million. I don't have the most recent numbers. I actually have somebody that's supposed to be getting those for me and I haven't got them yet. Yeah,
because I recall you talking about some of this stuff. I guess what was it, back in 2017 when the governor proposed that $450 million tax increase, I guess. And,
yeah, my
wife. You worked at length on the budget that year.
Yeah, we did. And Stella, my wife, made a great spreadsheet. It's got all the figures line by line, fund number by fund number, agency by agency, and we had a detailed way of. We talked about it a little bit the other day. I had that spreadsheet in front of me, Matt, with all those numbers on it. And I might when I talk to Brian from the Northern Panhandle, hopefully get him on, and I can also talk about the budget numbers at the same time. You have a good day.
If you do that, give me a heads up. I'll try to make sure I tune in.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you later.
Thanks,
all right, bye-bye. Thanks for the call. And we're down to less than 2 minutes, right, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, 2 minutes to go. Just going to do a little, not really summary, but I'll give you a little heads up of what we're trying to talk about tomorrow. There's a lot of questions I didn't get to today. I'm going to work on some of them. Some of them are regurgitated questions that I guess the people hadn't heard the answers before. We'll cover some more tomorrow. If you have any questions, please send them to a message to Michael Folk for West Virginia Governor, or you can comment on the YouTube page, Michael Folk for West WV, or you can send me an email, mcfolk, the number 34 @gmail.com, mcfolk34 @gmail.com. You can also text me at 304-279-6797, or give me a call also at that same number. And with that being said, let's have, we got 1 minute left. You got a good song to finish us off on, and
we always
actually just use that Country Roads again. Sounds good to me.
Well, or we always finish the way we start.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So that's, freedom. Y'all have a great evening. Stay safe. Take care of your neighbors. Reach out to your older neighbors that might need something brought to them. And y'all have a great evening.
I stand at the edge of the pages of history and lessons unlearned. It feels like these pages are remaining unturned. But boys, it's no mystery.